Youthforia has officially responded to the backlash surrounding their Shade 600 of their date night foundation, dubbed Tar in a Bottle and the Shut Up Foundation. At 3 p.m. Eastern Time on June 3rd, they posted 2 photos in one post to both their Instagram and their TikTok. The first slide says, "Our commitment to providing inclusive products." And the second one reads, "We care about our customers. And as we continue to drive change, we are creating a new position internally dedicated to examining both our current products and those in development so we can best meet your needs. You can read more about our values on our website and learn more about the role on our careers page." So now that we know what Youthforia's next move is, let's talk about it. What is this position that they are creating to best meet your needs? What has the initial reaction to this post been across social media? And what are the chances that Youthforia will come back from this? Hang tight. We're about to get into all of that right now. Hello, my friend. If you are coming back, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, hi, my name is Jen. You have stumbled upon the channel called JENLUV. On this channel, we talk both current and past makeup news, and this is an extremely current topic. This is what's happening right now. This video is actually a follow-up to a video that I did about Shade 600 when all of that hit the media. And it goes very much into depth about the entire situation. If you would like to watch that video, I will put it at the top of the description box down below. But in case you just need a quick summary, let's spend about 3 to 5 minutes talking about what happened. On August 20th of 2023, Youthforia launched their highly anticipated date night foundation that you can sleep in. There were 15 shades in the initial launch, and here is a little clip of the CEO and founder of Youthforia. Her name is Fiona. This is what she said about the foundation at launch.
I decided to make a 15 shade foundation range because even I feel overwhelmed and have trouble picking my own foundation shade when there's over 50 shades. Compared to other foundation ranges, this is a generally neutral foundation range with slight variations in the undertones. So we'll have some neutral shades with warm undertones or cool undertones or true neutrals. This is perfect for anyone who's ever had trouble picking your own foundation shade, whether it's too orange or too peach. Our true neutrals really flex to your skin shade. We tried all of our shades on 120 real people, and we did a photo shoot where everyone wore just half a face of Youthforia date night. And you can just see how seamlessly this blended into skin.
Notice in this video how Fiona talks about the reason why it isn't a bigger shade range, and she talks about how she gets intimidated by shade ranges that are very, very large. She follows that up by detailing how the neutral undertones will make the foundation work for more people. So to me, this shows me that Fiona knew that the shade range itself was going to be critiqued from the jump. And if you look at what she actually launched, is what she's saying true? It's actually not. If the goal was not to be intimidating, why were there so many light shades for people to choose from? Wouldn't that be intimidating? Isn't that what she was trying to avoid? And if it was meant to be neutral so that it worked for more people, why wasn't the shade range more spread out? And I see this as a pattern with Fiona, that she has an excuse before the critique, but the excuse doesn't really match up with what we're seeing with our own eyes. This is a pattern that I'm going to point out more in this video. And the other thing that's weird that I noticed when looking a little bit closer at this initial launch is that if you look at the deepest models that she used of all those 100 and some models that she had hired or that she had tested the product on, let's just look at that one row. Which foundation shade from her swatches do you think are going to match these people? Now I'm looking at, let's just label them models A, B, C, and D. Model B, I think that I found a match for her that probably will work. If you go on Ulta Beauty's website right now, you'll see model A, but in her before, left side, right side, not before and after, but a left side, right side photo that they used for her for that ad campaign, it does look like that the Date Night Foundation shade is a shade or two lighter than her natural skin tone. And I don't see in Fiona's swatches a single shade that might match models C and D. But that's what she launched with. That was the story. And just, we're just gonna go with it. Just Hail Mary it and hope nobody noticed. Some people noticed, they noticed, because swatches really aren't everything. Just that video doesn't tell the whole story. When it really blew up was when a TikToker named Gloria George posted a review of the deepest shade. It's something that she does often on her TikTok. She posted the video on December 27th of 2023. Here's a little clip.
I'm using the darkest shade $4.95, and this is what this product looks like online. But somehow these are the same color, right? One pump. This is the darkest shade of the Youthforia Date Night Foundation. I feel like I've been lied to so bad. This is what this shade looks like online, and this is what this shade looks like on the model. As we can see here, somebody is lying. I bought 2 new bottles of the Youthforia foundation to see if this was just a production issue or if this is just the shade. 1 pump of my original bottle. This is the darkest shade. 1 pump of the new bottle. This is the darkest shade. 1 pump of the third final bottle. This is the darkest shade. The theory of it being a production issue just doesn't even make any sense, because regardless of what issue it may have, could have, would have been, all 3 of these shades look the exact same on the bottle. All 3 of the shade swatches on my face currently are way lighter than they are online. All 3 of the shades on the boxes look completely off from what they look like online, in person, and in the bottle.
This led to 2 apologies from Youthforia. Here's the first one.
Announced that we were going to extend our shades of foundation on the day that I launched our foundation. In a Allure article dated back in September, I told them at our launch event that I planned on extending the shades soon. After launching my fair share of flops, it's always my intention to launch this as a proof of concept, see if people even liked the base formula, figure out if the entire project is such a flop that we have to start over and everything that we've ordered just goes into landfill, or we can kind of extend and expand. So working on shades and shade development, I've actually been working on some of this before we launched the foundation. But I always want to make sure that I left some room where I can actually take direct feedback. I love it when you guys send me feedback, especially videos, visuals. It's just super helpful for me. All of that ends up going into a really big document. Then it goes back to the lab. Then we do a lot of in-person shade development to make any other adjustments. So additional shades are coming. There's something that I've been actively working on before we launched our foundation. Shade development does take time. Sometimes there's some nuances with time of the year that we are developing shades. So for example, summer shades look different than winter shades, especially if you're someone who changes undertones as you get a little bit more tan. These are all kind of things that we're working through.
People that had deeper skin tones that weren't considered in the initial launch came back and said, well, you're basically saying that we were an afterthought, that only after the lighter skin people approved of it, then we can have it. And as a response to that, she released a second apology.
I just want to come on and say that I'm extremely sorry. When I first started Youthforia 2 years ago, all I wanted to do was create a space where individual beauty could be celebrated. And unfortunately, with our latest launch, we just fell short of that mission. I know I could say we're just a tiny brand, and that just doesn't excuse the fact that some of you guys do not feel seen or included, and that is unacceptable. I'm extremely sorry that we did not do a great job by you guys with this launch and with this product. But I'm trying to learn to be better. I've already set up time with community leaders and experts on the best way that we can improve. But for now, just know that we already have additional shades in development, and that all the photographs on our website reflect the shades that we actually sell. We would never alter the tones of our photos before posting that online. There'll be more coming from us shortly. We'll keep you guys posted. And if you guys would like to be part of the change, we're always looking for community feedback.
On February 27th of 2024, Youthforia posted this video to their TikTok. They say in the video that it was filmed 4 months prior, so that would put the actual filming date of this video as late October of 2023.
And this probably has a risk of bankrupting the company. What time is it?
2 a.m.
Why are we up?
Job sucks. Work so hard.
Then-
Something that needs fixing. And there's no one else to fix it but you.
get kicked out of Ulta in a couple months to speed up development time. And I don't know where we stand with Ulta because small brand, you can always get kicked out. You know, I thought I was going to have more time to finish shades, but I think we're just going to have to speed up the timeline, change our innovation calendar, and just like get it done. Ideal world, we get this done in 4 months, which is basically we're compressing 2 years worth of work in 4 months, which is crazy. But then this probably has a risk of bankrupting the company, which is also very crazy. Pregnant, nobody knows.
So what did Youthforia do? They rushed into production, and a little over 4 months later, they released a 10-shade extension for their date night foundation. The new shades launched on March 6th, and things were pretty quiet until April 29th, when Gloria got her hands on the 2 deepest shades of the foundation and was absolutely horrified. It was a scathing review comparing the shade 600, the deepest shade of foundation, to black face paint. The problem was that this was not marketed as a costume. This was marketed as to be sold to people with real human skin tones to match them. And a flat black foundation with no undertones will not match a human being. And I was shocked in my video when I read the comment section how many people truly believed that this shade 600 would match a human being. If you are one of those people, just know that you are not alone, but that is not real. There is no way that something without an undertone will match a human being. Just like I showed in the video, this paper towel will not, even the lightest person is not this shade of white. Every single human being has an undertone, and that was the big problem with the deepest shade of the date night foundation, that they developed the shade to shut people up. As my friend Audra said, the shut up foundation, going deeper than what even Fenty could do in order to get people off of their backs without ever testing it on a human being first. They didn't take a person and match a shade to them. They made a shade and tried to find a person that matched, and what they created was not a human skin tone. The backlash after Gloria's video went live was swift and it was fierce, even making it to mainstream media.
The beauty backlash for a makeup company over its darkest shade marketed for people of color. ABC's Morgan Norwood says the product has become the talk of social media. I saw it on my feed. Morgan, good morning.
Yeah, good morning to you, Janae. A lot of people are talking about this.
At this point, Youthforia had to make a decision. How would they as a business handle this complete and total F-up? How would they handle it? What they decided to do was they decided to stay silent for an entire month until now. I just realized my lights are a little bit bright back here. I'm going to turn them down just a little bit. I feel like I'm a little too bright. There we go. That's better. When you're a one-woman show, things like that happen. All right, so anyway, at the beginning of this video, I showed you the post. I'm just going to throw it back up on the screen for you just to refresh your memory in case you would like to reread it. The response to this post, because this is all that there was, just these 2 frames on Instagram and TikTok, was mixed. There are people that are outraged and people that are thinking that there's more serious things going on in the world and that Black people should just let it go. Their most liked comment on TikTok was from a user named Mango, who said, "I think y'all forgot to say sorry." Most of the posts over on TikTok are in true TikTok form. They're very short and some of them are very quippy, but almost all of them are on the side of this isn't enough. On Instagram, things are a bit more complicated and people are spending more time writing their comments. Here are 2 conflicting comments from people that appear to be Black women. Here's the first one that is pro Youthforia. This is what she said. Her name is Brown Girl Blue Sky. An Asian woman founded a business, tried to be the most inclusive brand by selling a very wide range of shades, and they missed the mark while trying to make the darkest shade possible. There also was a lot of content about their attempt to make and find models for this darkest shade. No controversy then. People now acting like this brand hates Black people and purposely made a shade that was too dark, and this is a KKK hate crime, need to get a grip. It was a mistake. All this passion for canceling brands that do any little thing that upsets you. Meanwhile, there are actual horrible issues on the world, like the fact that 2 million Sudanese are at risk of famine is peak first world out of touch behavior. You don't like this brand, don't buy from them. Wasting energy to insult and shame them is meaningless and pointless. My personal response to this is that I would love if that person would watch the piece of my video that I already put up, my interview with my friend Audra Rains, because they really lay it out, all of the arguments against that. Again, if you have not seen that interview that I did with Audra, that is one of the most complimented parts of that video was what Audra said on the topic. Again, it is linked below and it is timestamped if you'd like to skip directly to that. Another very popular post on their Instagram is this one from a user named Devin Rutland. This is what she says. What? Let me get this right. You ghost for a month and come back with a mealy-mouthed response not acknowledging why, and drive people to your website to click around and find what you referenced in these paragraphs instead of making it front and center. Then you release a job ad for a position that sounds like they're supposed to be in the lab, but you'll have them running to do PR and DEI initiatives. That's 3 jobs in one, which I'm sure you're trying to hire a Black person to show you're listening, only to overwork them in an environment that is hostile. You need a crisis PR manager more than anything. Speaking of the job opening, I want to talk about that because what Devin is saying is absolutely right. Actually, I think it's worse than what Devin's saying. In order to find that job listing, you need to go to the Youthforia website, scroll all the way down to the bottom, and there's a little word that says careers. That's where you click. That is where this job listing lives. Wait until you hear this. Now, I am not in the beauty industry. I have never run a beauty brand. I have just watched a lot of them. So those of you that have more experience in running a beauty brand or being part of the back end of a beauty brand, you will have a much more knowledgeable position on this than I do. But I do want to offer my opinion because that's all I have sitting here in my basement. That's all I have. And I'm absolutely I'm floored by this job listing. I can't believe it. I think that it's even more than 3 jobs, what Devin was saying. Let's take a look at it. The job title says Director of Product Development. Here is the position summary. It says, Youthforia is hiring a Director of Product Development to lead our product development efforts with a focus on inclusivity and the creation of a diverse product line. Very nice. Love that for them. Next line. This role will be instrumental in ensuring our products cater to a wide range of skin tones and cultural preferences. Not a big fan of that wording, but let's keep going. The ideal candidate will have a deep understanding of product development processes, project management, regulatory requirements, and marketing strategies, coupled with a strong commitment to DEI, which stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion principles. Then they list key responsibilities, and under this are subheadings, multiple headings of responsibilities. That is the first red flag that this is not, I don't think this is a real job listing. It can't be. It legit cannot be a real job listing, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's talk about the first part. So the first job that they have is product development leadership. It's a lot of speak, so I'm just going to kind of summarize a little bit while I put it on the screen for you to read in full. Basically, the person who is hired for this job is in charge of the entire development process of all products from start to finish. This includes brand strategy and ideation for the products, the formula, the production, the packaging, the artwork, communicating with the warehouse, communicating with the vendors. In this combined process, this person is in charge of all of the feedback provided in the development stage for all of these steps, communicating with every single person that is involved outside of Youthforia in creating a product. So for me, this sounds like a job for a team of people. I don't think that one person can do this job alone. Just my estimation, being an outsider, I would say conservatively, 4 people doing this job with a person that is leading this team, this production and development team. To be clear, it is listed that this is the job of one person, the DEI specialist. This is only their job. It nowhere mentions that a person has a team in order to accomplish all of these tasks. I imagine that a company Youthforia's size that has a reach enough to be in multiple retailers, at least they were, but they are still sold at Ulta Beauty, but they were sold in 4 or 5 different retailers. A company of that size, the CEO, I feel like would be the person that would lead a team like this. In my estimation, we've already got 5 jobs now. The CEO job, and 4 people working under the CEO. Let's move on to the next job. It's still under the first heading. just to be clear. Says that they're also in charge of making sure that the products they create will be profitable and that the cost doesn't outweigh the profits. So traditionally, this would be handled by a chief financial officer or a CFO. So we have now given this person the job of CEO and a small team, and also now the CFO to handle all the finances. All right. Along with that, the person also needs to be the chief marketing officer because their responsibilities also are to ensure innovative product concepts, unique product positioning, ingredient and formula storytelling, technical innovation, and on-time delivery. So this is now the 7th job that this person needs to take on upon themselves. And it also says that they are required to travel if necessary in order to monitor the production process. It sounds like that might be like a person that was on that initial CEO team could do that, so we won't add an extra job for that one. Are you ready for the second subheading of their responsibilities? That is the diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. In my opinion, the only job they should be hiring for. This is job number 8, and this is what they will be required to do. They need to review all existing and planned products to make sure that the shade ranges are inclusive and identify ranges that need to be expanded, collaborate with everyone in the company and outside the company to make sure that equity and inclusion are considered, engage with the BIPOC community members, makeup artists, focus groups, and consumer insights to gather feedback and inform product development decisions. They also need to lead initiatives to increase representation and inclusivity in product offerings, ensuring diverse voices are heard and reflected in all Youthforia products. And finally, under this label, they also need to develop and implement strategies to address gaps in Youthforia product lines and improve accessibility for underrepresented groups. To me, this shows that they did some research into what a DEI specialist might do. The problem is that this is the 8th job. This is not their. This is not the response. How are they going to have time to do that? Because they're developing all the products from start to finish. How are they going to do that if they're also doing this? I think there's a reason why Fiona put this like this. Again, I'm getting ahead of myself. We will get there. The reason why Fiona set it up like this. Because here comes the 3rd heading, and it is project management. So this one really overlaps with the other jobs, so it doesn't really add on new jobs. It just adds more clarity to the responsibilities. So it says manage project timelines, budgets, and resources to ensure timely and cost-effective product launches. So that would be the CFO and maybe that primary team that we talked about. Then it says to coordinate with internal teams and external partners to ensure the seamless execution of product development projects. So that again would be that initial team, and then monitor and report on project progress, addressing any issues or delays promptly. And again, that should kind of go back to that initial team or that marketing team that the CMO is managing. To monitor and report on progress on every single piece of this business is a lot to ask one person. It's just a lot. But we are not done because there is a 9th job, and it is a job that you would never want an overwhelmed person to have, and it has to do with regulatory compliance. Every beauty brand needs to keep up with the current regulations across whatever industry they are in, and with a regulation in the US called MOCRA that just went into full effect, that's going to be really, really important to make sure that they are following the law. So whoever has this job is also in charge of that. The listing says they'll coordinate all required testing, including stability, compatibility, weight loss, transit tests, and line trials as needed. They also need to stay updated on industry regulations and best practices to mitigate risk and ensure product safety and efficacy. The final bullet point under this is more about that CMO position, that marketing position, that they need to be running the marketing team and they have to communicate with them and have a focus of diversity and inclusion. This includes working with them on marketing materials and campaigns, as well as analyzing market trends and consumer feedback, because they'll have so much time to do that. So at this point, I have a couple of questions. The first one being, who the hell in their right mind would want this job? Nobody. Nobody is going to want this job. There is a reason why a founder and or CEO of a company might hire a CFO and a CMO and teams that will handle all of these things. This is a lot for one person to do. And I think that the way that this was worded was purposeful. I think that Fiona had an agenda. This is that pattern that I was talking about where she's trying to tell us something without saying it outright. I think that she is trying to express through this job listing, look at all the things that I've been doing. See how hard it is to run a beauty brand. I've been doing all of this. My husband and I have been doing all this all on our own. Look at how much we're responsible for. It's really hard. And my response would be, yes, it's really hard. But that's what you signed up for when you started a beauty brand, was to figure out how all of this was going to work. And if you couldn't handle the responsibilities of all of those jobs, then you hire people to do those things. And if you can't afford to hire people because you're just a teeny brand, as she said in the past, then you scale back. You scale back until you make enough profit in order to hire people, in order to expand your shade range. They had the BYO blush that was very popular, that color changing blush. Maybe do something with that. Make more color changing products, a la Lipstick Queen's frog prints. Stick with something that you can do that makes sense for your brand, but also doesn't stretch you too thin until you can hire other people to help you. So yes, if Fiona happens to watch this, I understand that there are a lot of things that you need to do behind the scenes as someone running a beauty company. But that's why you don't extend past what you can handle until you can extend past what you can handle. And then you hire people to handle those things. And you notice I say people, multiple people, not one person. Let's go back to assuming that this is a real job listing. I have two other questions. If this person is doing all of these things, what is Fiona doing? And what is her husband that works for her doing? What are their jobs going to be? Because clearly there's no jobs left. That's pretty much broken down of the whole business of everything that there is to do in my limited knowledge. I don't personally see anything left for them to do. And then my last question would be, building on the we're a tiny brand thing, how much is this person getting paid? Because it's impossible for one person to do all of this at the scale that you are currently at. But that is not this new person's fault. That is your fault as the person who grew it to this point. So how are you going to properly compensate somebody to do all of the things to compensate for your up? Are you just going to hire someone knowing that you've created an impossible position in order to set them up for failure, to just kind of say, well, we tried and it didn't work out? Not a fan of that. Not a fan of that at all. One more piece I want to address with the job listing is the requirements, the wish list of the qualifications of the person that Youthforia wants to hire. Here's the list. They hope that the person will have a bachelor's degree in marketing, business, product development, or a related field. An advanced degree is preferred. Also, a minimum of 7 to 10 years of experience in product development with a focus on beauty or personal care products. Along with that, demonstrated experience in leading DEI, the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Initiative, within a product development context, strong project management skills with a track record of successfully bringing products to the market, excellent communications and collaboration skills with the ability to engage and influence stakeholders at all levels, deep understanding of regulatory requirements and industry standards, and a passion for diversity, equity, and inclusion, and a commitment to driving positive change. I would imagine if there is a human being that has all of these things and is capable of doing all of these things, that they would not take this job because they would know better. They would look at all of their responsibilities and be like, there's no pay that you could pay me to do all of those things. Even if they gave them the highest salary possible, I don't think that anybody in their right mind that has this kind of experience and knows what all of this means would take this job. So my theory on all of this is what I was saying earlier, that this is not a real job listing. I don't think this is meant to be a real job listing. I think that it is just meant to show the world, this is what I'm doing. This is what it takes to run a beauty brand. You don't understand how hard my life is. You don't understand what I've been going through, without saying that outright. And if no one applies for this job, she can say, We tried. We put out a job listing and no one applied for it. And if someone does apply for it, she can say, well, they didn't meet the qualifications. And if for some reason they do meet the qualifications, she's basically setting them up for failure. She can say, well, that person wasn't able to do their job effectively. And any problems that they might have, they're not going to take responsibility for, they're going to throw that person under the bus. Again, this is just my opinion. I am not a future predictor. I am not psychic. I don't know what the future holds, but that is what I would predict. And what I'm thinking is I've seen this kind of behavior from people before. I used to be an elementary school teacher, and that's where a lot of kids start learning these kinds of behaviors, these manipulation tactics. They figure out, that's their job as children, is to figure out which manipulation tactics work and which ones don't, and to craft their manipulation skills. It's just human nature. I'm not knocking the kids. It's just the way that it is. So what I would imagine is that Fiona throughout her life has been able to manipulate people this way and has been successful at it. And she's trying to manipulate the masses. And the problem is when you're trying to manipulate an individual person, it's a lot easier when you know that person versus when you are trying to manipulate people that you do not know. And what's happening is it's coming to bite her in the ass, and she doesn't know what to do because it seems like people have let her get away with this before and people are not letting her get away with it. So she is doubling down and she's increasing the behavior. This is what we would have seen in an elementary school classroom, is that the negative behavior then increases in the strength of it and the intensity of it before that kid or that person eventually realizes that that strategy doesn't work, and then they stop doing it and they move on to living their life and making choices in a different way. And what I feel like this is from a child development standpoint, because that's again what I know, is the extinction behavior of she's ramping up and doubling down on, I am going to try to manipulate you by telling you that my job is hard and don't be mad at me, don't be mean to me. I'm doing all of these things. How could I release an inclusive shade range when I had all these other things to do? I couldn't be the DEI person and do all of these things at the same time. And what I would say to that, if that was the strategy, is that no one asked you to. No one asked you to do all of those things. You signed up for that. You signed up for being responsible for all of those things. And then if it gets to be too much, you're responsible for delegating the things that you can't handle. That has nothing to do with people on the outside. And I personally don't feel bad for her in that stance. It's her responsibility. If I were Fiona and I was actually a serious person who wanted to make this better, I would give Fiona the advice of just focus on the DEI piece. Just focus on that one job. That person is not going to be in charge of anything else. That person has one major job, and their major job is making sure you don't look like an asshole to people that you clearly don't understand. They're not formulating products. They are not calculating budget margins. They are not communicating with vendors. They are not doing any of that. They're just making sure that diversity, equity, and inclusion is working within your brand. That's it. And you know who's doing the rest? You're doing it. Fiona's doing it. Her husband is doing it. And if they are not doing it, they are hiring other people to do it. If they can't afford it, that's the bed you made. You got to deal with it until you can afford it. You got to figure out how you are going to do all of those things, because yes, it is your responsibility, but that's what you chose to do. At this point, I would like to welcome back my own personal diversity, equity, and inclusion expert, Audra Rains, who I interviewed for the last video and brought so much context and so much heart and so much insight into that last video. So allow me to welcome back one of my very best friends, Audra Rains.
Audra Rains back on the channel because we have an update, Audra. We have an update of what happened with Youthforia that we need to discuss. What I've said this in the video earlier, that people commented a lot about how much they loved how much you contributed to the last video on Youthforia. So I had to invite you back to get your feedback and your thoughts on Youthforia's statement that they put up on their Instagram and their TikTok saying that they were going to hire somebody, and that was pretty much the statement. What do you think about their response after 1 month of silence?
I mean, what's the point? Like, here's the thing. I said this before. I'll keep saying it. It's fine if you don't want to make stuff for us. That's okay. making a weird, long, extensive job description where you're essentially trying. I mean, I feel like you said this when we were talking earlier. It is setting somebody up for failure. It's very much the same concept of we made these shades, but nobody bought them. And you typically are selling them in a market where you don't have Black people to buy that product. So you're like, oh no, we made it, but nobody liked it. And you're like, yeah, but the population in that area is 99% white. So I'm not sure what you did there. This just doesn't, I don't care. For me, I'm done with the brand. I don't need to try anything. I don't really need for them to play these little like dancey dance games. I'm fine. Just like, please leave us alone. You had a month and this is what you came up with. We're trying to hire a Black person to teach us how to do things. Like,
So
I
who
legit
do you
can't
think this
breathe.
was for? Like when you create something, you're creating it for an audience. Who do you think that they created this post for?
I mean, I think a large majority of apologies, not all, but a large majority of them are intended for a very specific audience. And that is the audience who wants to continue buying their stuff without feeling guilty. And if that's, then they've done it. You know, the people who want to buy it and not feel guilty, they're like, see, they're doing stuff and they'll keep buying it. And that, no hate to you. Listen, no hate if you want to buy the brand. Live your life. I'm not the boss of you. I'm not your mom. I'm not your dad. But like, for the rest of everybody else who knows what this is, which is just bullshit, we're not going to buy in.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you think that have you ever tried anything from Youthforia?
No.
No. Okay. I love the Australian version of no.
And as soon as I saw that they didn't have it in the first place, I was like, I don't care. Like, that's the thing about me is like, as soon as I see a brand doesn't carry my shade, I'm like, all right, and forget about them. And I just never think about them again.
Yeah. Yeah. It's easy to do when there's so many brands on the market to choose from.
There really are. I have a ton.
So the other big thing that I wanted to talk with you about is the people that are saying, and we kind of touched on this the last time we talked, the people that are saying that people are making kind of a big deal over nothing, that it's just makeup, that it's just foundation, that there are bigger problems in the world that we should be worried about. It's a first world problem. What would you say to people who say that this, you know, people aren't making a big deal of it? Are people making too big of a deal of it?
I think it's a false equivalency to start playing there are bigger problems in the world game. Multiple things can be true at one time. Multiple things can be true at one time. There can be so many awful things happening in the world. You can have a bad knee and be having a hard time. You can have this foundation situation. All of these things happening doesn't mean that you can't think about all of them. And it doesn't mean that it's less important. I think when we try to contextualize all problems, and this is coming from somebody who lives in a bubble of anxiety all the time, when you're very consistently trying to contextualize problems as having more or less importance, you're spending more time on that than actually solving the problem. So, you know, and there are things really in the makeup world that we can solve. And realistically speaking, we're human beings. And at the end of the day, I think a lot of us want to be able to have an impact on something and actually see that impact. I think with a lot of the awful things that are happening in the world, we can donate, we can give money, but a lot of us don't actually get to see the end result. We don't get to see anything happen. We're hoping for the best, but we don't get to see it. But with something like this, you can actually see your impact, right? It's the same way we can see it on, you know, any YouTube creator who's acted out. We can see the impact of what we say and what we do and how we respond. And I think that that's just like good for people. And I think when you're telling people over and over again, like, oh, these people over here are dying, or oh, these people over there are dying, I also think that you know, belittles those situations as well. Why are you on a makeup post talking about these things? Like, if it's that important, then you need to take that and put it over there, because I would be a fool to go to one of those posts and be like, by the way, this foundation, and you're like sitting here talking about lives and deaths of people. So, I mean, we're all going to have a multitude of problems. And if we actually thought that you could only focus on one thing at a time, then our world really wouldn't be where it is today, which is like, I don't know, I'm a free Black person, so that's cool. Like, it wouldn't, I'm just saying, if that's how things were, like we could only focus on one problem at a time and it has to meet certain criteria, then I think that there's a lot of things we wouldn't have. So
yeah. Absolutely. And I think one thing that I love about what you had said earlier when we were just chatting was about how you're just making purchasing decisions for yourself. You're not
Yeah.
telling anybody else, don't buy this, or you're a bad person if you buy this. You're just saying, this is me, and this is their actions, and this is how it made me feel. This is how my opinion about it. This is my opinion about the brand. So therefore, I am not personally buying it. And I do think that it is up to the individual consumer, but I think that it's important to hear all sides of things, that people speak out on how they feel so that people can make a more educated decision on how they want to move forward. And I think that's why voices like yours are so important, to explain to people that may not understand that perspective from a personal standpoint. But when it comes down to it, it's up to the individual consumer what they want to do, and no one's telling anybody what they have to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's sad that people will personally attack people over this, and it's just relax, because like we did say, it is just foundation to a degree. It's just foundation. If you don't agree with how it's being handled, that's cool, bro. Just go like elsewhere, keep buying it. Nobody's coming to your house. I'm not going to show up at your house. I mean, my anxiety could never, and neither could my BGs. So like I'm not coming to your house to like personally snatch the foundation out of your hand and tell you what a terrible person you are for buying it. Like we all have, I always say this with regards to makeup and just life in general. We're all hypocrites in one way or another, right? So there's always going to be something that we will do or buy that goes maybe against some people's or previous ideals and standards that you're gonna do anyway. And then
Right.
there's other things
Like
that
as
you're gonna
far as
stand on it.
like the planet, like when you talk about
Yes.
eco-friendly products, or
Yes.
there's always going to be something that you're supporting that isn't 100% ethical. There's no way, because so many of the
Correct.
biggest companies are unethical in one way or another.
Yes. Like I would love to be able to be a person who says like, oh, I donate all my makeup and like da and I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. I can't. Like most of the time I'm working. When I can, I will. Like I have friends that I will send makeup to, trans friends who are getting into makeup. That's amazing. That's exciting. Happy Pride Month. But
Happy Pride.
I would love to be able to stand by every single thing that I've ever said in my life, but that requires me to have a memory that isn't short like a gnat. And it also would require like me to stand on some business I know I'm not ready to stand on. So it's
Right.
fine. Like
Yeah.
buy what you want, enjoy what you want. Nobody's going to stop you. But also, you don't need to tell everybody else that they're stupid for being pressed over foundation, especially if you don't have that problem. Just like be chill. I mean, I would just say that, like, first and foremost, all Black people are not a monolith. So I don't expect every Black person to have the exact same feeling that I have. And I think that situations like this are good for the Black community in a lot of ways, because it does allow us to show that we are not like all, like, we're not Black people in the sense of we're all the same and we have the same ideals and feelings of how everything should be handled. And I like that because it allows us to have individuality. If you don't believe that this was a fault of the brand, you don't care, you don't feel like it's a big deal, that's cool too. You know what I mean? I think everybody should be able to have their own thoughts and feelings. There's brands I don't buy from for one reason or another. I think two old videos on my channel about like stuff I had from brands that were canceled, but I wasn't throwing it away. I spent the money. Are you kidding?
Right.
Like,
Right.
like,
Absolutely. You already have it. So
yeah, I'm
no
not going to
point
throw it
throwing
away just because that person's a dirt bag. I mean, I spent the money on it and it's pretty and I'm going to use it. I may not like shout it out in my channel. I hardly tag anything really, but like I'm not going to tag it, but I'm going to still enjoy the product because what difference does it make? They already have my money at this point.
Right.
So it's not changing anything for me.
Right. But if somebody said to you, I want to throw away these products because I don't feel comfortable using them, that's their
Then throw 'em
choice.
away. Yeah.
That's their choice if that's what they want to do.
Yeah, I'm pro do whatever you need to do that harms no one else to be comfortable and confident in your life. Because I think that especially in the past, I don't know, 5-6 years with makeup, it's gotten a little wily and it just feels like we're not allowing people to enjoy makeup and things like this come up. And the reason it's such a big deal isn't just that they did something so egregious and so disgusting. It's the fact that they're taking the joy out of makeup again. Like, we keep getting to the point where we're like, oh, we're having fun and this is good. And we're doing our little trends and our little blush. And, I'm doing my Vady today. And then they come along and just, and it just kind of pisses me off. Like, I just want to have fun and put colors on my face and smash makeup on and wear blue eyebrows. Let me live.
Yes. Yes. I love that. I love that so much. Absolutely. And I think that's what we all really want for the beauty space, is for us to just all be able to have fun with the products that we enjoy using.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Audra, for coming on again and sharing your thoughts. I appreciate you. Where can people find you if they are looking for how to follow you?
It is Audra Reigns on YouTube, on TikTok, on Twitch, and on Instagram. I branded my whole thing. I'm going nowhere with the brand, but I'm branding it.
But you're having fun doing it.
Oh, I'm having so much fun.
And your audience is having fun with you.
It is such a good time. Like,
yes,
listen,
such a good time. Such a good time. Highly recommend from me to you. Thanks again, Audra. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks, friends. See you later.
As of filming, Shade 600 is still available on the Ulta website and also on Youthforia website. It's available for purchase right now. And along with the foundation being available for purchase, there are still photos of models that they claim represent Shade 600 as an accurate skin tone for those people, which we know is not true. To me, this says, despite everything that has happened, Youthforia still believes that Shade 600 will match real human beings. They're selling it still to match real human beings. And as I was looking to see whether these shades were still available, I noticed something interesting, and it was the reviews that were left on the foundation and how they contrasted from the Youthforia website to the Ulta website. So let's take a quick look at some of the reviews over on the Youthforia website. If you scroll down to the bottom, you will see that the Youthforia Date Night Foundation that you can sleep in has a 4.7 star rating. If you sort those ratings by the lowest first, you will find I think it's either 4 or 5 1-star ratings, and none of them, not one of them, mentions Shade 600 or problems with the shade range. There are people that mention undertones and issues with the undertone, but not specifically related to the deeper skin tones. Other 1-star reviews talk about the return policy and shipping issues and just general how the foundation looks on the skin. It's also important to note that the last 1-star reviews that were submitted were from 4 to 8 months ago. Now let us compare that to Ulta, where there are 371 reviews for the Date Night Foundation. On Ulta's website, it has a 3.3 star rating. The most recent reviews are from about a week ago, and I noticed that with Ulta's website, a lot of the reviews tend to take about a week to post. If you then sort these reviews on the Ulta website by the lowest first, you'll find so many of them commenting about Shade 600 and the shade range in general. There are some that are complaining about texture and application in general, and one person said that the foundation broke them out, but the vast majority of the 1-star reviews are about the shade range. So then I got to thinking, and I popped back over to the Youthforia website, and I was like, well, maybe they're just not letting any reviews through. Maybe it's not just the 1-star ones. Maybe they're just not accepting reviews right now. Oh no, the latest review that's on there, it's a 5-star review that was posted 2 days ago. So yeah, they're letting reviews go through, just not any negative ones. To me, that says as a customer that they don't think that the critiques about Shade 600 not matching human beings because it has no undertone as a valid critique. It's not something that they see as valuable to other customers. Though I am glad that it is clear that Youthforia did some kind of research or somebody did some kind of research on diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'm glad that they did that. I feel like this was another shut up situation. Now it's the shut up job listing. It's their way of saying, you want us to hire someone to do the things that you say we aren't doing right? We'll show you. Here's a job listing. Could you do this job? No, you couldn't. But we're doing our best over here, okay? So shut up. Like, that's the vibe that I'm getting. And I have a little giggle because it's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous and so inappropriate and so unprofessional. From day one, I don't think Youthforia has taken any of this seriously. I don't think that any piece of this has been taken seriously. And at this point, what is going to matter is how seriously the customer is taking it, because there is a camp of people that thinks that this is completely and totally overblown and it's all a bunch of nothing. So it is now up to the customer to decide whether this will then make them not want to purchase from Youthforia in the future. And to be completely honest, we all know that there are people that are going to say it's not about the people that create the products. It's not about Fiona. It's about the quality of the products. If the quality of the products stand for themselves, I will continue to purchase. There is a camp that will do that. But this is the real question. Are the products good enough to stand just on that? Because they have lost a lot of customers over this. And with so many choices out there of makeup to buy, they have to create products so good that not only will people purchase them initially, but then they will keep coming back for repeat purchases. That group of people that doesn't care about the people at the brand and only care about the quality of the products, they have to have enough of them to keep the company afloat. And the only way to do that is to differentiate themselves in the market and create stellar products. And right now, their big marketing, their big thing that they're standing on is makeup you can sleep in. And if your whole brand is riding on people that want to sleep with a dirty face, we'll see how many people that is. And at this point, my friend, it is your turn in the collective brain of makeup awesomeness, where we help each other not to buy crap and to buy things that are totally worth it. I would love to know your thoughts about Youthforia, about their response, about what they're doing to address diversity, equity, and inclusion with some really hard quotation marks on it. I would love to know your thoughts about what I presented to you in this video. How are you feeling? What are you thinking? Let me know in those comments down below. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the thumbs up button. It really does help me out a lot. It tells YouTube to share it with more people so that more people have the option of clicking on the video if they choose to. If you're not already subscribed, you can do that too to make sure you don't miss future content. I've been doing a lot of content similar to this recently, so if you liked it, subscribe. That would be great as well. And if you would like to hang out just a little bit longer, YouTube should be recommending a couple videos for you over here to watch, including one that I'm going to pick out for you down there that I think you're really going to like. YouTube's going to pick the top one based on your current viewing history and what you've been enjoying. But if you do need to go right now because you got other stuff to do, you've been hanging out with me for a while, it's no problem. Thank you for hanging out as long as you did. Mad love to you, and I will see you in a video very, very soon.